Position Preview, joined by Dave from Talking Wolves. How you doing, mate?
I'm good, mate. Thank you. Yeah, I messed you around a little bit this week with a house move and internet issues, but other than that, mate, keeping well. Thank you.
Yeah, it's good to catch up with you. Anyway, you've been doing some great stuff on the overlap. So probably a tough question for you. Like, how are you feeling right now as a Wolves fan?
Yeah, not great, to be honest. I mean, you guys can just look at the league table and you can understand and see the situation that Wolves are in at the moment. Yeah, it's not a great place to be right now. There's not really many signs of encouragement either. We saw a little bit of improvement last week in Rob Edwards' first game, but I mean, under Vitor Pereira, just nothing was changing, nothing was improving anytime soon. So it's frustrating because if I could see and watch us week by week and see those gradual improvements, I think you could take that little bit of encouragement, but there's none of that either. So, yeah, disappointing. I'm a very positive person. I'd like to think that we can still fight and try and stay in this league, but I think any realistic football fan can see it's only going one way for Wolves, unfortunately.
Yeah, sort of from the outside, the end of last season, that form that you had, you were like flying. I think was it like 6 games in a row you won
6
or something like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you sort of end the season, you think the positivity, Pereira done well, but then like in the summer, they're just it feels like you got let down by recruitment, players leaving, like system players leaving, like Ait-Nouri when you're playing like with wing backs, not really good. And I know you did well without Cunha for parts of last season, but like a quality player in and around the squad is like really important, isn't it? So what sort of has gone wrong?
Yeah, I think you mentioned the 6 games on the bounce, which was huge for us, albeit against some teams that were sort of out of form or really struggling anyway. But ultimately, we had to win those games. I think we would have been safe anyway, but that was a massive boost for us to make sure we stayed in the league. And we gained a really good reputation and relationship with Vitor Pereira after that. I mean, you would have seen the videos of him going on to doing a tour of the Weatherspoons in Wolverhampton and so on. But after that 6 games, we actually didn't win the last 4 last season. So I think there was 1 draw and 3 defeats in that. And for whatever reason, that just carried on into the pre-season. We didn't win a single game in pre-season, and then obviously went on to the start of this campaign. The recruitment was strange. I think we were resigned to the fact that Cunha was going to go. We weren't so sure about Ait-Nouri, but obviously that got done quite early. But both transfers were done really, really early. So you'd think that would give Wolves a chance to sort something out. Look, you're never going to find players the same quality as Ait-Nouri or Cunha like for like. But what you need to do is find profiles that can come close to replacing what they gave us. Or if you're going to change system, find someone that's going to a top player. We got nearly 100 million for the pair of them. And there's not really anything to show for it, really. So they were, the recruitment was very disappointing. I think Vitor Pereira had a lot of control over it. That's what the club narrative is, that they gave Vitor Pereira. We kicked out our director of football for Vitor to bring in somebody that he worked with in Saudi Arabia, and it was just an absolute disaster. Start of the season, he comes in. By 3 months after, Vitor Pereira sacked and he's gone as well. So just puts you back to square one and in an even worse position. So just things on and off the pitch over the last 6 months have been disastrous, really.
What was the sort of message in like the summer? Because obviously Villa have had like bad PSR problems. We had SCR, and we were all sort of, we all knew what was going on. We knew the direction that we were kind of going in. We knew what the recruitment was going to kind of look like. Did you guys kind of know what you were trying to do in the summer and what the ambition was for this season? Or is it just been like you just don't know what's going on?
Yeah, it's a bit, it's a bit of a mess, to be honest, because the last couple of years, obviously, Wolves have always been linked with that PSR and, FFP stuff. But people in the club are adamant that the club have never been close to any breaches or anything. I mean, you see that. I think if we ever get close, Villa have experienced it. It almost feels like every summer you almost have to sell one big player, which is frustrating for teams, that you're losing quality and talented players because you feel like you're never going to be able to compete. I mean, Villa have showed that the opposite, really. That you've gone on to compete year after year for the last few years. But the sort of message from Vitor Pereira was, I think he was realistic with the squad that we had, that he says, right, we've got to build, be better than last season, probably finish around mid-table, and then that's when you carry on and building from there. The club over the last couple of years had tried this sort of self-sustainable model where basically the owners didn't really want to pump in any of their own money, and any player signings would have been off sales, basically, which again is probably the correct business thing to do. But in the Premier League, if you want to continue to excel, the owner has got to find ways of making money or putting their hands in their pocket to get better players. But we've seen it under Gary O'Neill. We had a slow start. He ended up getting sacked. Vitor Pereira, obviously slow start, ended up getting sacked. They said in the summer that there was a phrase used that it was quite, it spread like wildfire in the wall space, really. It felt like the penny had dropped for the ownership, that basically they're going to have to start spending money to make Wolves competitive again. And although we spent money, it was just off the player sales, which is, again, is what they said they'd do. But I think in hindsight now, the club know it was a disastrous window. Vitor Pereira went with a very obvious style of profile, big physical players. The amount of players over 6 foot that we've got in the squad is ridiculous, really. But in terms of technical ability, there's just not enough in this Wolves side at the moment, unfortunately. No pace either, really. I know you've got physical players, but there's no one where tomorrow at Villa Park, for argument's sake, I say, will you give him the ball? He's going to get us 30 yards up the pitch. There's just none of that, unfortunately, now.
Who did you sign? I recognise Wolf. We played Alkmaar, I think, in the Conference League. How's he doing?
He's okay. Again, he's been in and out of the team. We've got a young Spanish lad, Hugo Bueno, who I'd like to say came through the academy, but obviously he's not Wolverhampton born and bred. But I think we signed him when he was 16, and he's been a part of the sort of academy setup for a number of years. So he went out on loan to Feyenoord last season, I think, did quite well. So you got two players there that can rotate and have got some sort of talent, but just again, neither of them look fantastic. Wolf's been in and out of the team, but whenever he goes on international duty with Norway, he seems to get some goal contributions. So he did start last week in Rob Edwards' first game. But in terms of the rest of the signings, I think someone said to me the other day, I think 6 years ago, you could ask anyone, I could ask you, Luke, I could ask anyone watching this video, they could probably give me 1 to 11 who's probably going to be in Nuno's starting team. But now you look at that team, and obviously I know the players, but you probably only recognise a handful of them. We signed a guy called Jackson Chichua, who might start tomorrow, right back from Hellas Verona. Again, meant to be very, very quick. Technical ability, not there, but not using his pace properly either. I mean, going back to what I said about someone that could get us 20, 30 yards up the pitch, it should be him as a right wing back, and we just haven't seen that yet. Tolu Rokodare, big Nigerian striker, 6'5", 6'6", playing in Belgium last year, top scorer in Belgium. Reminds me a little bit like Wesley when you boys signed him.
Oh God!
I'm watching him and I'm thinking he scored a couple of goals in the Carabao Cup, but in the league he just looks too far away from it. Again, might start tomorrow because he started Rob's first game last week. But other than that, just not enough. Just not enough quality in the team, unfortunately. I look at some individuals. I think Strand Larson, obviously a good player. João Gomez, Andre, but the rest of the quality and talent around them is just really underwhelming, unfortunately.
I mean that Agbadou started quite well, didn't he?
He was phenomenal last season.
He was quality. Where's he gone?
He started last week. But he's just fallen off a cliff. I've never ever seen anybody have form like that when he signed in January. He was just unbelievable. To just now the quality of him on the ball, the misplaced passes, the mistakes leading to goals. He got a red card against Fulham before the international break. I don't know. I'm hoping with a new manager and fresh ideas, he might come good again. He was okay last week. Again, so I think he'll probably start tomorrow, but we need a lot more from Agbadou anyway.
Yeah, so you kind of mentioned sort of like the ownership having to like put money in their own pocket. Are they like looking to sell? Because obviously you're gonna. I mean, if you do go down, you're gonna have to rebuild in the Championship, so they have to spend some money there, aren't they? So, I mean, what's their vibe if you go down?
Strange. Yeah, it's strange with the owners at the moment because obviously if they go down, the valuation of the club, and it probably is now, is going to be way lower than what it could or should be worth. But I think they've got Jeff Shee, who's the chairman, who gets a lot of stick. He's sort of the sort of poster boy, let's say, of Fosun. The owner comes to a lot of games, watches every game, whether he's in China or whether he is in England. But I don't think the guys at the top quite understand football in regards to if Wolves are doing well, and under Bruno Lage, under Nuno, even Gary O'Neill started off quite well for a short while. If Wolves are doing well, they think in their heads, we don't need to invest in the team because they're doing well enough. So when maybe you should maybe give them 10, 20, 30 million to push on and maybe sign another winger or another striker, they haven't done it. And the only other time they spend money, we may see it in January, depending on where Wolves are. They'll chuck 150 million in the January window to make sure you've got the quality to keep you in the Premier League. So we had an offer from John Textor, who's part owner in Crystal Palace. But a lot of that was like shares and things like that rather than actual cash. So that got rejected. But their stance is that they're not for sale. They're getting a lot of pressure from Wolves fans. I think we may sooner rather than later see some sort of protests. But I think in their eyes, Fosun, they're saying that if we do go down, because they've got to be realistic now, if we do go down, they will make sure we get back up straight away. But it's easier said than done. You look at the Championship now, some of the teams, Leicester and so on, it's not really playing brilliantly. So it's easier said than done, but there's a lot of pressure on them right now, but they're saying they're not for sale. So
yeah, I saw the backlash from the Middlesbrough fans. You weren't favourable, were you?
No.
So, what did you make of the appointment then? I guess you're all going to like it because he's, he used to play for you, etc. So, how are you feeling about him coming in? But how are you feeling about the magnitude of what he's got to do, whether that's Premier League or Championship?
Yeah, it's a huge job, regardless whichever division he's in. I mean, he's got to firstly. I didn't dislike the appointment because it was someone who has somewhat some sort of connection to the club, but actually wanted to leave a club in a very decent position to join us. And for me, that's like a green flag. I think, yeah, fair enough. You're risking a lot to join us. But what he's got to do now, Rob, because if he between now and the end of the season stinks out Molineux and we were awful, there's going to be pressure on his job. Like, why if we finish, for I would say we break Derby's record, which is a possibility right now. Why are you going to want to keep that manager on board? Probably not. And both parties look like absolute idiots going into next season. But what I like about Rob, obviously you've seen him, people fall for it, people don't, the sort of motivational side of things, the passionate side of things. I think that's what Wolves need right now. It's a team low on morale, low on confidence. There's been a lot of positive comments from players coming out in the media, which is good in a way, I suppose. But yeah, he's got a big job on his hands. If he can keep us up, I'll start building a statue for him now outside because that's just a phenomenal job. But secondly, he's got to keep his reputation intact as well as a manager. Can he, do enough to convince players to stay next season if we go down as well? So, and then next year, the pressure's going to be on him to make sure he takes the Championship by storm and gets back in the Premier League. So it's not an easy job, whichever way you look at it for him.
Yeah, it's tough because, I mean, I like watching the Championship, but I hated being in it. It's so tough. It's so difficult because it's like, in the Premier League, like I feel like you can look at a fixture and go, I think we've got a chance against them. But you look at the chat, everybody looks the same to me. Everybody's team name, it's like they're all the same. Do you know what I mean?
The quality is so weird there. I mean, you look at it like to be fair, I mentioned Leicester earlier. They're at 14th in the table right now. Their fans aren't happy with what's going on. If they win a game, they could be in the top 6. Like, it's that tight still at the moment. I know there's a long way to go, but the division is crazy. And everyone's saying, "Oh, Black Country." I hate playing Albion because Albion always. I know we beat him in the FA Cup, but teams like Albion will always do Wolves over, and I can't stand that. And it's bad enough having to fight, but try and debate with Arsenal and Chelsea fans. If you're having to debate like West Brom fans and Birmingham City fans, it's just a different kettle of fish, isn't it? So yeah, I just can't be bothered with the stress of that next season.
What is that? You like talking to me then?
Yeah, no, I mean, we could have a good conversation with the fans. I know that every club. I mean, Wolves have got some awful people on social media, just always on the wind up. But there's people you can have good conversations with. But I suppose for us, since I did the podcast and stuff, we started it when we were in the Championship, but 99% of it's been in the Premier League. So it's sort of entering the unknown and trying to, make relationships with people that maybe I've never spoke to before,
Yeah. Sometimes it is hard. That I did a Sunderland opposition. And it's hard to find one. And I was who'd you go for? I couldn't imagine trying to find someone from like Oxford United or something.
That's what I mean. There will be someone, but you just don't know what you're going to get, do you? So,
yeah. So what have you thoughts been on Villa so far?
Yeah, I mean, someone put a screenshot up from about 4 or 5 games in when there was 1 point between us towards the bottom end of the table. But yeah, the turnaround in form has been phenomenal. I think, under Unai Emery, I don't think there was ever going to be any doubt that there was going to be improvements. But yeah, the form recently has been fantastic. I haven't watched huge amounts of Premier League football in general this season, so I can't say that I've sat here and watched huge amounts of Villa. I caught the tail end of the game on Thursday in the Europa League, against Young Boys, but. Yeah, it's to be expected now. What he's done there in terms of the recruitment. Like I said earlier, you're losing players, but you're bringing in interesting players and good players of quality that can help improve the team or help. That's what Wolves haven't got. You look at the depth that Villa have got compared to the depth Wolves have got, for argument's sake. It's crazy how quick things can change over the space of a few seasons, but it was an ambitious appointment at the time, and it's certainly paid off for Emery and for Villa, because it's just to be expected now that Villa are going to be up there and causing teams trouble.
Yeah, so thoughts on the game tomorrow then? I've been looking at some Wolves fans and they're all saying that they got no chance, etc. But there's something about you guys when you play Villa, more at the Molineux.
Yeah, it's more Molineux based, yeah.
I think you can bank on your 3 points there, whether you're good or bad. But Villa Park, it's a bit different. But yeah, I'm a little bit like, I think we'll win. But then I'm still kind of a bit like, I heard Rob Edwards' press conference, and he's talking about like how he knows how much it means to the fans, and he's getting it very much like derby, like. So I'm sensing like you're gonna come and it's gonna be a bit of a battle, etc. What do you expect?
I genuinely don't know, because, like I said earlier, I like to go into these games and be quite positive. And you're right. I think against Villa, we normally have pretty good games. I think a couple of years ago, I think under Gary O'Neill, towards the tail end of the season, you smashed us at Villa Park. Like, we didn't even lay a finger on you. Last season, early on, we did okay, but you came out on top in the end, I think. But yeah, Molineux, I always back us. I think we always get positive results against Villa at Molineux. Villa Park, it's a bit 50-50. I think just based on form and quality of the squad, you should have enough to get the job done, whether it's, a derby day or not, but it depends how Rob Edwards has instilled that into the players, what sort of mentalities he got from then. So there's glimpses of quality in the Wolves squad, but it depends on who he starts and who wants to turn up tomorrow. There's players like Jean Arias, who I didn't mention earlier, played, in the Club World Championship team of the tournament, and he's been absolutely awful for us. So, if all of a sudden he starts tomorrow and can find the form that we expected from him in the summer, it could be a different Wolves team. But yeah, I mean, if I was, if I had to put money on it, I'd probably comfortably put it on Villa getting the better of us. But stranger things have happened, and I said sort of on my preview, a win for Wolves, and it can completely change the momentum, especially a game like this. A lot of Wolves fans know Villa fans, you like to have the bragging rights and things like that. If you can get a win like that, your tail's up, and all of a sudden you might start pushing to get some more points on the board.
Yeah, it's a big game for us, big game for you. We could potentially go third, but you could get your season on track. No, but you could get your season on track. Do you know what I mean? Like, I
agree.
You win, and then you're like, oh, you've got that buzz, and you're growing and building, and we're getting into that like Christmas period where there's loads of games. So if you get on that quick little short run of something, then
I think it helped us when we played you. I know it was at Molineux, but when we beat you 2-0 last season, because Cunha scored at the death, that helped us a little bit. I think that gave us a little bit of buzz and momentum to carry on getting some good results, because it showed the quality that we had. We had a couple of players. I think Strand Larson was injured for that game. We played Guedes up front, and it showed that we do have quality in the team, and that's what I'm hoping for tomorrow. I don't know how he'll play, because the way he played last week was a 5-3-2 with Tolu and Strand Larson up front. Can he play? Can he afford to play that at Villa Park, where you've got no way really to get yourself up the pitch? I'm not sure, but I'll be interested. But it could genuinely be 11 men behind the ball job for Wolves tomorrow, and it could be as a Wolves fan, it could be a terrible watch. But we'll see.
Hope so. Right, cool, mate. Anyway, it's been great chatting to you. I'll catch up with you on the reverse fixture anyway, and then
definitely, man.
We'll see what situation we're in then. So, cheers for coming on. I'll put your channel in the title and description and that. Okay, mate.
Yeah, perfect, mate. Thanks for having me on, and see you soon.
See you later, mate.